Yo, today we tuning in to theogg, and apparently he vibe coded his own app. They didn't write a single line of code. I'm curious to see how it turns out. Let's hop right into
Probably seen in my recent videos, I've been vibe coding a bunch of stuff, but I haven't released any of it. Well, not yet. That changes now though, because I just put out one of my favorite side projects that I've been working on for a bit. It was an idea I've had for months now, but I only just recently found the time to actually build it, and I couldn't be happier with what we've built. So without further ado, I would love to reveal, no, ignore that one. Quip Slop. We can finally learn once and for all which AI is funniest. This is a game idea I had forever ago to take something like Quiplash, the game from Jackbox, and try to recreate it with AI. The flow is pretty simple. One model creates a prompt that the other two models have to respond to in a funny way. It can be a fill in the blank, it can be a question about a title for a thing, just all sorts of funny prompts that are then meant to let the model make a funnier response. Two models are picked to give their responses, and then all the other models vote, and the winner gets a point, and they are ranked in the leaderboard. We also just set it up so the viewers can vote too. So if you're watching on Twitch at twitch.tv/quipslop, you can vote as you go. This project has sent us down some pretty absurd paths, and this is not the first time I've tried filming this video. In fact, we are now 4 hours past the first time I tried to film this video. We have been in utter chaos now for hours, and I can't wait to break all of it down for you, from how we built this to what went wrong to how we scaled it to tens of thousands of users, all live on Twitch. But after
tens of thousands of users. This is for all the people who's watching. This is where I want to be. Making side projects and having a community to support the side projects. Obviously, he makes money from ad revenue and everything, so that's not the point of the video. But to be able to have fun doing what you love, isn't that like that's inspirational in itself? And I feel like people lose sight because the job market is terrible. But if you look at it with a glass half empty, then you'll see that this isn't really valuable. But I'm looking at it as half full. And like the fulfilling part is having 10,000 people be able to support a side project and for you to just have fun. Like, I don't want to say this doesn't have real world value, but it clearly means something to the community. So shout out to Theo for that part.
seeing a preview of my open router bill, we're going to take a quick break for today's sponsor. Stop me if you've heard this one before. You're wasting your time. Reason if you time you with murder mystery because shout out to my editor for finding a way to turn this all into a video, by the way. He's probably gonna have to pull things out of that 4 hour mess to fit them in here, but I'll do my best to cover things from the top. When I first started building this project, I started with a CLI because I wanted it to be easy to see everything working. Like, the original core was just this pattern of model 1 makes a prompt, two other models respond, all of the models vote. Doing that in a UI and managing all of the connections, everything for it would just not have been pleasant. So I started by vibe coding yet another CLI. Ignore the logging, I added that during debugging. The main parts here with the prompt, the answers, and all of that, that is all working as expected. DeepSeek opened here with the only thing toddlers are unexpectedly good at painting with is, and we get the answers you would expect. Pretty solid overall. One of the things that's made this project so fun is trying to find clever solutions to the problems that these models just can't stop throwing at me throughout the process of building it. And they have thrown a lot of problems at me throughout. One of the first ones was the randomness of this initial prompt, as I was hinting at before. When I first started this, I had a pretty simple system prompt for the original prompt, where I would hand a bunch of examples to the model through the system prompt of existing Quiplash quotes and example prompts. And what I found is that that fixed set kept causing the models to give like the exact same set of things over and over.
Yeah.
I had 3 times in a row with different models where they were about your grandma. I had 4 in a row where it was about things in funeral homes. It just wasn't really random and it sucked. So I tried a pretty crazy thing for this. The first thing I did was get more than 60 prompts. In fact, we got about 870 of them. Obviously, handing all of these to the model is not going to give us anything of value. So what I chose to do instead was randomly shuffle them and select 60, or 80 in this case, for every single time this runs. So every model gets a unique system prompt for each run, which results in a unique set of answers.
So question is, wouldn't that technically mean after a number of times you'd run out of combinations? Like you'd still be running into the same issues? You know what I mean? Like if the issue was generating the same prompts, wouldn't time like after let's say 3 months, wouldn't it not that it, well, who knows what type of unknown issue you could have, but wouldn't that mean that you still would have the same jokes being refreshed day to day? Interesting question I have, at least I think.
Significantly more so than we had prior. And then things are honestly not that bad. This is a prompt for the responses is pretty simple. You're playing Quiplash. You'll be given a fill in the blank prompt. Give the funniest possible answer. Be creative, edgy, unexpected, and concise. Reply only with your answer. No quotes, no explanations, no preamble. Keep it short, under 12 words. Keep it concise and witty. You get the idea. I didn't have to do a lot to format the responses because they randomly put quotes and shit around. That was a lot of the work, honestly. Also, making sure that the result is an actual string, not empty string, so I could force it to retry in those cases. That ended up being a lot of work, too. Also, cleaning up the vote that they make between A and B and randomizing which they see as A and which they see as B in order to make sure that works. Also, fun challenge. But it all ended up working, and eventually I had a CLI that was pretty dang reliable. So next was the web UI. I originally just had a simple WebSocket server hosted in Bun on Railway that you would connect to, handle everything like the votes and whatnot in the web UI. But after dealing with utter hell trying to figure out who was who there, because the IP address spoofing is a very real problem, eventually we gave up and did it all through Twitch instead so I could avoid auth and whatnot there too. So after everything we've described so far, I had a working CLI, I had a working web UI, I had it deployed and mostly functioning, but I wanted to go further because I really wanted to have the Twitch stream. But you can't just send an HTML page to Twitch, you gotta stream it somehow. And thankfully, I have a lot of experience doing weird stuff with FFmpeg and streaming to Twitch with it. I had to do a lot of back and forth with a lot of different models to get this working how I wanted it to. The way this is working is by rendering a pixel perfect canvas in the browser with the exact content that I want. So once that browser's been spun up and has that canvas page, which I'm doing is like a headless Chromium instance. A lot of environment variables here that I can pass things to. I need to knock the max bitrate down probably, but we're not even getting close to it, so it's fine. Once we have music,
When it comes to security, right? I think my question is because I'm reviewing the code and I see Twitch stream key. Does that mean like obviously we know the key is in the .env file? Um, does that mean that you can prompt it to generate the key or somehow like security wise? Because you see how OpenClaw is not a security risk. Vibe coding itself also poses some security risks, doesn't it? So like I guess when prompting, when you prompted or when people prompt, do you guys make sure that security is first at hand because code is so easy to generate nowadays? It's a question that I have personally asked myself because it seems like IT and the IT department, especially like in the class that I'm taking, which is very intro to IT support specialist, which branches off into the A plus, networking plus at some point. Um, but a lot of IT people, they don't care about programming. They like some people like the hardware side of things. Some people don't care to learn languages. It's not their thing. My thing is, wouldn't it be like a prerequisite now more than ever for IT to know programming? Because you genuinely have to protect the code, and it's easier to generate now than it has been in the past. So logic isn't really a thing. Like logic is a thing, but it's not like it's not a huge emphasis. Like everything that was an emphasis before in terms of the structure is not that emphasized. So yeah, that's my question. Isn't it more important more now than ever for a IT specialist or just people in that field to know coding and programming just so they can be more of a safeguard to some of these programs that's out there?
I'll probably have to knock that down. I create the FFmpeg command, which has a lot of fun things. I actually know a lot about streaming to Twitch from FFmpeg because that's how I streamed to Twitch when I worked at Twitch for marathon content. I've thought a lot about generative content with FFmpeg streaming straight to Twitch. This is a thing I've had to do a weird amount. We make sure that we can actually reach the URL. I spin up FFmpeg. I create the readable stream that I can pipe things to. Oh, this is for the dry run mode, yeah. So in dry run mode, it just plays the video on my computer so I can be sure that it works. FFplay is such an underrated thing. I use it all the time for various shit. Like if you guys want to see it, I can show you. Bun run start web, bun run start stream, dry run. And FFplay just creates this video player frame that I can look at to make sure things look correct. This is how I built and debugged the whole thing. Somebody said that calling FFmpeg underrated is wild. I promise you, no, it's not. Like a lot of people know that FFmpeg exists, but not a lot of people understand how powerful FFmpeg is and like all the things you can do with it. Like obviously, it's great for doing video stuff, but you can do
Yeah, I'm people. I've used FFmpeg, but not to the same level he has. So like when you see me just listening, it's because like I like to be a sponge. I don't want to sit here and pause and give you my experience on FFmpeg, which is pretty like low, as opposed to someone who works at Twitch, who's a streamer at the same time, who may know like more cool things to do with it. Like I'm now learning how powerful FFmpeg is. So for those who want to make fun of me as because of it, or for those who think that I don't uh know the libraries, I'll take it. I'm a student of the game. I'm always looking to learn. So like if you guys make fun of me, I take it as a good thing. Take it as something new I'm trying, because there's a lot of things that um I'd say other people don't try, but
crazy things like stream from it, access devices on your computer that have media capability from it. It's so fun. And the way we create the browser is with a local Puppeteer instance. I had to disable a bunch of shit so I could access the external network. I create a WebSocket locally in this FFmpeg wrapper instance that can be connected to from that browser instance. We're setting all these search params to the URL so that we can access them in the page. And then we finally start getting chunks that I can pipe into FFmpeg to start the stream. So once things start running, we create an array buffer socket type, look at the different options we have that are supported for Media Recorder in this browser. We should know because we control the Puppeteer version, but this is a good practice when you're building for real browsers, not just one that you own. Didn't care because I barely read the code when I wrote it, as you guys can guess. We set a bitrate quick here. We create the recorder device, which another fun thing a lot of people don't know is that you can create a media recorder device in the browser and connect it to the canvas and create media from a canvas in the browser.
so I think all right, let's get to the meat and potatoes.
As it should be, as long as I don't leak environment variables, which is very easy in this particular project. Oh, that's great. That leaked my stream key. I love
That that's exactly what I asked earlier, because you know how easy it is to generate the code, and it goes into the IT question. I hope you guys made it this far, because I'm just asking question as I'm watching it. I would say it's live, but it's live recorded, so I'm not like editing anything out.
love that. Let's go reset that. Oh, that's great. That leaked my stream key. Leak environment
Let me
variables,
see
which is
if I
very
go.
easy in this
Let
particular
me see if I
project.
can find the stream
Oh,
key.
that's great. That leaked my stream key.
Oh wow!
I
So
love
he
that.
blurred it out.
Let's go reset that. Vibe coding, not even once. Oh, I just realized that was a stream key again. Fuck me. Give me a sec. I thought I wasn't screen sharing that time. My bad. I wasn't screen sharing when I did the ENV thing, right? Was I? Did I have that open when I did that? Fuck me. I have to reset everything. Fuck me. Give me a sec. And a ton of formatting fixes because this version is rendered in that canvas, as I mentioned before. Getting that right, obnoxious. But we did it. It works. I made the world's greatest slop monster. It's fun. I enjoy dicking around with these types of things. I enjoy testing the limits of my vibe coding tools. All of these prompts were done live as I was filming the video, fixing things as we went. Ignore the top left corner there. Might have some more launches this week. Oh, fixing things
Make live viewer. I'm concerned we're not. I would like to move away. Shoo.
as we
You're not
went.
gonna tell me
Ignore the
not to
top left
focus.
corner there. Might have some more launches this week. And if you want to see how funny these models are yourself with your own prompts, we have a solution for that too. If you haven't heard of T3 Chat, I highly recommend it. We've been putting a ton of time into it. The last
I think for the most part, this was a great video, but also a great depiction of how much security matters with vibe coding. You know what I mean? Even the best of the best in Theo, someone with a huge experience in coding and a background in it, on his chance on vibe coding, API leaks, stream key leaks, like it's not hard to fucking hack some of these vibe coded apps. So, um, if there's anything I want you to take away from the video, one, make sure you're thinking with security first. Two, make sure you're making it as simple as possible so you can understand and read through the code. In the event that everything fails, you can kind of like decipher and ensure that it's strong. You know what I mean? And thirdly, I guess stick around, like he said, and make sure that, you're having fun during the process, but be strategic about the fun you're having. You don't want people to get used to producing bullshit programs because you have the tools available to you to produce bullshit. You know what I mean? So, great video. And I hope you liked it. Like, comment, and subscribe. Leave what your thoughts are below, and I'll see you in the next one.